Hello everyone, my name is Nooraki, and today I wanted to do a little tutorial on how I color and choose my colors for my paintings and my digital art. So, as you can see here, I have a little sketch of a character. She's supposed to be an elf, and basically when you start coloring, you see these two layers. I have layer 3 and layer 2, and basically what these are is layer 2 has been my base sketch from my original little doodle here, where I basically create the structure of the body and basically do the hands, how I would bend, how the character would, or the character's pose to be exact. As you can see, the hands are here and everything, but now I'm getting a little off topic. But here's basically the line art that I would have for my art piece. So what you want to do is you click layer 2 and then create a layer above that, so it's under layer 3 but above layer 2. And what you want to do next is, I like to start from the face and the skin and color those first, because they're usually the most inward in an art piece. Sometimes I do start from the hair, but I would say 90% of the time I start from the skin. So elves are usually pretty light in their skin tone, so this might not show on the white canvas. So if you have a color where the color from white or the color doesn't show on a white canvas, what you want to do is create a new layer and create a small background so you can see where you are coloring. I'm using pretty lightish turquoise for this. So, and when you are choosing a background, a simple background for the coloring portion, you don't want to go with something that would contrast with your line work. For example, this, because then you wouldn't see it. Or this. You can see the line work, but it's maybe a little too close for the base color that I have used in the sketch. So what you want to do is go something that would be really far, but not really far, but not far enough, but not too far from the line art color. And I choose turquoise green because I'm gonna be using mostly warmer colors for this than colder colors, so a turquoise green would work perfectly here. So now that I have chosen the skin tone, I start to, of course, color in the face and the skin and basically everything that is pure shown skin. So the hands, the ears, and the neckline. And it doesn't matter if you go over the lines, because you can later on erase them, or if you can see here, I went a little bit overboard in here, basically in the hair area, where I went a little overboard with the color here from the line work. It doesn't matter. You will be later on coloring the hair, so it will cover it. But after you have colored in the hands, the neck, the face, the ear, then what I usually do is I go for the hair. And, well, I wanted to do a little differently this elf. I want to go with a little darker hair color, a little blackish, but not necessarily black. When coloring, you don't really want to go with the extreme colors like really bright red or pretty bright, like bright yellow, you usually want to go with a little desaturated or oversaturated colors. So, well, not oversaturated. What I mean by this is, if I would be coloring the dress, for example, blue, I wouldn't want to use this kind of a blue because it would look pretty hurtful to the eyes and it doesn't really look good. But if coloring the dress and I wanted to make it blue, I would basically make it a little lighter and maybe a little darker. So it would be this kind of nice smooth color that would be really close to blue but not overly rash, not like a neon color. Of course, if you want to make a character look like it has neon colors and neon clothes, then go for it. But usually I like to keep things a little bit not as overly colored, or maybe not as, how would you say it? I'm sorry. Maybe over colored. Like if we would get rid of the line art, you would see that this is more darkish gray than it is black. But it's still, from afar, looks mostly black or really, really dark gray. And it works because human hair normally isn't the most darkest black. Like, no human looks like this. No human's hair is this black. Like, that's a fact. Maybe actually my character should have a little bit darker hair. But after coloring, well, actually not after coloring, as you are coloring the hair, I usually, in this portion, I try to be a little bit more careful than with the face, because in this you still have the face and the ear and everything colored in the skin tone, so being a little bit more careful in this portion, then you don't have to go back and use the skin color to correct your mistakes. Of course, it doesn't really matter, but usually not needed to go back makes things maybe a bit easier. So after coloring the hair, if it looks too bright, the red across the black, what I usually do is, in Paint Tool side, you have this button here called Preserve Opacity, and when you click that, it basically, as you can see, it only erases or colors in the line work or the things you have painted in that layer. So basically, if I would want to paint in the face and not touch the outer layers, then I would be press opacity and see how it doesn't go into the crevices that have not been colored. But if you want to make the hair not look that as bright in red, what you can do is you can take your black or the color you have used for the hair and then make it a little bit darker. I would say maybe 10%. And if you want, you can take also a little bit in the hue and make it a little bit more outstanding. Oops, that's the wrong layer. So what would happen is that your character's hair, after doing this, would look more like this. And let's be honest, this looks less eye-bleeding than the previous red, and looks a lot more nicer and smoother. And when you are basically doing simple sketches or simple art pieces where you don't really shade, this is really helpful for making the line art look more in depth and maybe make the portions look better. Like if you would be using only black for the line art, it works, but it doesn't really look that nice in my opinion. So if I wanted to coloring the red from the skin tone, what I would do is go a little bit on the black and maybe bring out it in hue mostly towards maybe a little brownish, and look how much better it will look. It would look much more better. Of course, maybe not ash brownish and not that overly desaturated, but this would definitely look better. And I'm just gonna do this for now because this red is bugging my eyes and I don't like it. But if it goes, of course, if it goes over the wanted lines, don't worry, you can fix it always. You can, of course, always draw the portions in different layers, so the filling in the line art will be easier and will not give you as much trouble as it would in a simple piece, but it isn't really hard if you have done the line work altogether. So now, as you can see, you see these little pieces over here that have a little bit of mixed color. What you want to do is take again the normal color you used for the hair and go a little bit over the lines so it will look more nicer and smooth. And this is basically what I always do when drawing, or especially when I'm not doing a huge art piece and just want to sketch and do a little fun drawing stuff, because it makes up a pretty good finished touch even though you wouldn't be shading. And let's bring it back to the 28th, and then you can see there are a little bit of leftovers, so let's go over those where the red does show a little bit. And if the black goes over, don't worry, there, looks much nicer. So of course now if you want, you can go for the eyes. Oops, that's the wrong layer. Usually I save the eyes for last, but now I want to actually do them before anything. And in this part, if you want to color the irises, that's also fine. Let's make her have maybe like a jade colored eyes. That actually looks pretty nice. I'll go over the line art after I've completed the rest of the coloring. So now for the dress. For this character, I would maybe like something really bright in the dress, maybe a little bit like a reddish color. That's why I made the sketch red. So let's take a little bit of red and make it a little orangish. And that actually looks pretty nice. Maybe a little bit too bright. That's too peachy. There. And in this dress, I want to do it in 2 different colors. I want it to represent like 2 sides. I want to make the other half more like a warmer color, and the other half, this side here, I want to make a little bit more of a colder color, maybe something light bluish, or I haven't really decided on it yet, but I want to make the other side look different, but not too different. So the color doesn't clash, but so that it looks different enough that it makes the dress look unique and something that would actually catch someone's eye in real life. So now for the other side of the dress, maybe I want to go with this. That actually doesn't look that great. Maybe something purple bluish would look pretty nice. No, not really. Or maybe something more greenish. No, that actually doesn't feel good. Actually, let's go with yeah, let's go with the blue, but a little bit more darker. So does that look nice? I wouldn't say. I don't think it looks that great. Maybe a little bit more grayish. That looks actually pretty nice. So after you have decided on a color that doesn't clash too much with the other side of the dress, or in any kind of case, don't use too much colors that clash together. For example, if I would make the dress, I wouldn't want to use really pink and really bright yellow, because as you can see, it really hurts the eye. The other is too pink and other is too freaking yellow. Like, the worst case scenario would be this, in my opinion. If you wanted to make this kind of color, then I would say use really faded. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Other side should be maybe a little bit faded, maybe a little bit grayish. For example, this looks much nicer than the previous this. But I want to go with the orange and blue. Makes it look really nice. And now that I have made the base colors for this, I wanted to do something a little bit special. I wanted to make the other side have like this gold sleeve end, and that would basically go with the orange, because orange is more of like a sun color, more of like that goes well together with gold than blue, because blue is more of a cold color. I would say it goes well with silverish color. So let's go with silver on... Actually, that's too dark. That's still too dark. I say that would be great. So the blue would have silverish sleeves, and the gold, that warmer portion would have goldish. I don't know. You get what I mean. So after this, I would go with this. And basically what I wanted to do for this is I want to make this kind of like, I would say, is that good? No, that still shows too much of the color. I want to make something that looks black, but actually isn't black, like maybe go with a purple color and try to make it look like this shiny, or not shiny, but black leathering, or, well, what's it called? I can't find the words, I'm sorry. Like, here would be a good color. It looks black, but it actually isn't. It's more a purplish or magenta-ish color. You can of course play with the coloring on how you want. For this, I want to make it a little bit more desaturated than I would maybe usually go with, because for this it would actually work. It's kind of like a bridge between the two colors, and it works really nicely in my opinion. Of course, you don't have to go with black, you can also work with white. Oops, oh, that I didn't mean that to make happen. But you can of course make it with white, but for this I'll be using maybe this black. Actually, I don't know if white will look better. No, I don't think so. I think this black looks maybe a little bit nicer. And of course, because I will be making this a lot more blackish to bridge between the dress's upper portion and the lower portion. And after this, you want to color these, or whatever you want to go for the lower parts of the picture. And for this, actually, I wanted to make it look like stacked up fabric, so I will be, as this portion is more in the front of the picture, I wanted to make the second layer of this bottom dress the orange color and actually use the blue on the upper color. And if the background doesn't work anymore, it's no trouble. You can just click the layer and then choose something else. I will go with purple this time. Okay, maybe not that purple, maybe a little bit lighter. That works. So now that you have the color, actually, change of mind. Oop, didn't mean to make that. Actually, oops. God damn it. Actually, now that I think of it, the blue would actually clash with that portion, so I will be actually making the orange on top. It doesn't really bother me if the orange is maybe a little bit more showing. I actually think that the warmer orange on top looks maybe a little bit better than the blue. Actually, I want to make this more, maybe a little bit more turquoise color. There, that looks actually better than the previous one. Maybe not too light, but light enough that it doesn't look too grayish. So for the same part as I did with the sleeves, I want to make this I don't know what I would call this, maybe the dress hems have the same color as the sleeves. So basically they would be the silver and the gold. Of course, if you don't like the silver look, you can always go with pure gold, or if you don't like the gold look, go with pure silver. It doesn't really matter as long as you think it's fine, but I think the silverish color looks better in this than pure gold or pure silver. But yeah. After I've done that, I will be finishing the touches with coloring the pendant that I made for her. I will be coloring it gold and maybe use... I will use maybe an amethyst as the gem coloring. Maybe... or a sugarite. It doesn't really matter. Actually, no. let's make it, let's actually make the thing look actually ruby. Let's make it ruby. No, ruby's not that. No, ruby's actually more on this layer. No, actually that doesn't look good either. Well, in coloring usually it's pretty like test, look how it goes well with the whole picture, and if it doesn't look good, then choose something else. Actually, let's go with a sapphire color. No, that doesn't look good either. Let's make it an Amazonite. Don't question how I know those gems. I look into a lot of these things on spare time if I want to make some gem stuff, as I have done in my previous speed paints. But now that I have colored in the pendant, I want to color in the darker portions of the dress, basically the things that are in the shadow. And for that, I usually would recommend not too dark as I did there. Maybe this is like something that would work. Maybe not as dark with that also as I used. That I think looks really nice. And you can play with the coloring. Usually the portions that might, for the beginners, look black, or you want to basically go with like this really dark, doesn't actually look like that in real life. It's actually more like this, not really as dark as maybe this, but not as light as this. So it's like not too far from the bright color that is against the lighting of the sun or ceiling or anything that you actually decide on. I'm actually gonna go with that, but in a little bit darker shade. That looks yeah, that looks... no, actually that doesn't. That looks good. And after I've done that, then let's do it for the other sleeve. That should look good. No, actually, let's make it a little bit darker. No? I would say there. Yeah, there. That works really good. So, now that I've done that, I want to, of course, do the same for everything else as I did for the hair and the skin. So, actually, I kind of made a mistake, because I didn't do the skin in the hands at the same time as I did the face, but it isn't really a problem. You can just pick the color that is closed in, and of course test it. If it doesn't look similar to what you used, you can of course make it lighter. That looks actually pretty close, or actually the same that I used for the face. And of course start with the skin again, or if you don't want to, it's fine. Just start with something. That's usually the important part. Then let's go with the dresses lighter, or the colder side. Actually, let's make it a little darker. Not that dark. That looks good. Yeah, that looks good. Actually, that's too light. Doesn't show enough. And this is the same process. It's more on the pick something, or pick darker tested. Doesn't look good. Make it lighter. Doesn't look still good. Make it a little darker. That's how it usually goes with painting. It's pretty... You can probably see when I'm drawing. It's pretty self-explanatory. Then I want to go... Actually, I want to go for the necklace and the sleeves next. Make it a little darker. That actually went good on the first try. Yeah, that looks good. Then let's go for the gem. Then I want to fix a little bit of the color on this. Oops. There. Maybe a little darker. Wait, nope, that's too dark. Let's fix up the skin again. Oops, no, that didn't go well. There. So next up, the gold sleeve. No, actually, what am I thinking? No, actually, it's next up is the... God damn it, the silver portion of the dress, which is basically the sleeves of the turquoise portion and the turquoise hem. There. Actually, let's fix that. And then let's fix that. And then now that I have picked orange, actually, I'm gonna color in the darker portion of the orange. That actually does look too light. Let's go with... I think that looks good. Yeah, that looks good. I like that darker color. Of course, where you have the design, you can actually make it anything you want, but I actually want to make it the same color as the outline of the orange portion of the dress, because it gives it kind of like that not imprinted look, which I like. Careful with that side. And then to finish off that, actually, whoops, I went a little bit over it. And if you have these parts, not really relating to coloring, but if you have those parts where you have some excess, you can just take it off and then fix it. Oops, that's not the sketch. There. So next up, I actually want to do this part. I want to make it darker. Oops. Why do I mess up like that? There. This is a little harder because this is basically laying against the necklace and the hair. And I really don't want to redo the hairs thing. There we go. And it went a little over the... There. And next up is this. And of course I have to fix up this part I just colored in, but that looks good. Then actually, before I do that, I actually want to fix up the dress. And I accidentally went over that, so let's fix it up then. And now actually this bothers me a lot, so now I want to actually do this. Just do that. And then take the color of the white and make it darker. Of course, if you want, you can make the eye actually black to make it look like she has maybe eyeshadow or not eyeshadow, eyeliner. Oh my god. I'm so sorry. I'm not good with makeup. I rarely use it, but that's not really the time to discuss that. I didn't want to pick that color. There. I actually want to make her look like she's having eyeliner, so it brings out her eyes a little more. Not like that. Like that. Of course, if you don't like that, as in you don't want to have the line art for the eyes, you can of course get rid of it. It always doesn't look good, but it's always fixable by taking off the preserve opacity and just basically doing that. In this case, actually, I don't want that because it actually looks better. I'm actually gonna make the iris a little bigger now that the line is gone from that. And if you want to, of course, make the eyes more detailed than the rest, what sometimes people do, you can take make small details for the eyes. Maybe not too drastic if you're just going for a simple look, because then it would clash with the rest of the picture. That's actually a bit of a pet peeve of mine, that sometimes people make the eyes look really detailed apart from the rest of the body. And I get that. Usually a lot of starting artists do it when they are more afraid of shading the whole picture or shading the important parts or whatever. I did that same thing when I was still starting as an artist. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, but if you stay in that comfort zone too long, you gotta always try and improve your art skills. It takes a long time, it takes a while. Nobody has to be perfect on the first time or the first try, but when you always put in the effort, then I think that's always like appreciative. And I think that people need to I see a lot of people when they draw, I see a lot of new artists taking a really long while to come out from their comfort zone. Actually, when I was still doing digital art, I actually started by using bases. And something, I know this is a little off topic, but people usually see base using as a wrong thing to do when you are starting, or whenever they see a picture online that uses bases. If you are a beginner and you just want to learn and want to make fun and just want to learn about how the body might work or how something goes, using bases and maybe editing them a little, it doesn't hurt anybody. I did that myself, and It took a little while, but I got out of the comfort zone, and I would say 4 or 5 years later, I'm here. It takes a lot of perseverance and patience and a lot of determination, but you can get there. You can make it if you just put in the effort. No artist was good in one day. That's a fact. No artist is the world-class painter or drawer in one day, or even 1 week, or maybe not even in a year. It depends on the person. If they draw every day, all day, and do nothing else, then sure, they might be really good in a year. But most people, it takes time, and it takes a lot of effort and love to learn how to paint and how to draw. It just goes like that. And I always get a little mad when people start hating on people who just want to learn and start to call them tracers. Using bases is not really... I don't see it as tracing. I see it more as trying to learn, and I don't want people to harass those who use bases. Of course, if the artist uses the bases for, like, let's say over a year, then I would say try to encourage the artist that uses the bases to get out of their comfort zone. But it needs to be done in a more constructive criticism way. But now, actually, back to the painting. Now that I've basically finished up the coloring, I actually want to, before I continue, I want to erase the over the line going colors. Oops, that went a little bit too far. And of course, one thing to painting also I would recommend, if you want to get in to digital art, I actually, when I started, I used to make the art that I made on a mouse. And I don't say that using a mouse is really wrong, but I would say that using a tablet and a pen actually makes things a lot easier. And it makes... Actually, it used to take me a really long time. It used to take me so long just to do the sketch, get everything correct, every portion, while I was using a pen. The mouse. It would take so much time. And when I finally asked my parents that, please, can I get for my birthday, can I get a tablet? And I got it, and I got used to it. It took a little while because I was so used to using a mouse, but when I got used to it, my art improved actually a lot in a really, really short time. Of course, like I said before, not using only a mouse, I don't see nothing wrong with. I've seen a few speed painters on YouTube that actually are really good with the mouse, and you only use mouse, don't use the tablet at all. But from my own personal experience, I would say the tablet makes stuff a lot easier. Actually, let's get rid of that. Also, one art tip that I'm not really using right now because I'm feeling a little lazy, but if you have trouble of getting into certain angles or drawing a certain angle, at least in Paint Tool SAI you have the angle tool that you can basically use to rotate the picture. For example, if I wanted to make this easier, get this angle right, then I would use that. But I for now want to make it, or keep it at the normal angle. So like after you have gone in and done everything, what I usually like to do is get rid of the extra lines. If I want to finish it, I know this is not really coloring based, but this actually makes the art piece look a little nicer if you're going for that simple one color, no shading look in your artwork. It makes it look more finished and makes it look maybe a little bit better, in my personal opinion. Then of course you might have these areas where you haven't really been able to go into the crevices, and you can always fix that when you go into the paint layer, and you can just fix it simply. That's like really easy. It doesn't take too much effort. I want to go in and fix a little bit stuff. Actually, I need to get rid of that. And so basically, after you are done with erasing the extra color and the extra lines, what do you want to do? Like I actually showed just before, like that, you want to go in and check everything, or you don't have to, but actually I like to do it a lot of times, so nothing goes out of line, everything is just correct and stays in the lines made for them, and it makes me feel a little easier, or makes me feel a little better about the art piece. Oops, that I didn't mean to do that. By the way, when doing the pupil, I don't usually like to go with complete black, as I don't like to go with the hair. I want to make it a little bit, not maybe as dark as that, but maybe like that. That makes it look black, but is actually not. It's more like a green, really, really dark green. Actually, I saw I need to actually fix that. Put that, and let's fix that up. And let's also fix that. Then, if you see more where you have like extra lines, it's more thicker than the rest of the lines, you can always go and fix that. I do that almost every time I do something simple. It's actually really relaxing and satisfying to do it, because it gives off that finished look. Of course, be careful that you don't take too much of the lines. That's actually good. Oops. But yeah, actually I might make the face a little darker, because the face lines are not actually showing as much as I would like. It's really light, and I think this would look actually better. It actually does, it brings out the color of the eyes. Then of course, if you have the problem that the eyebrows aren't showing as much, you can of course take in a darker color, and if it doesn't work, then exit the preserve opacity again and darken it just handily if it doesn't work or if it's too light. And we are pretty much done with the color. I'm actually gonna kind of make the background a little light blue, or maybe a little bit more bluish, I think. Actually, no, I think this... no. No, not that either. Oh no. This is also a bit hard for me. Actually, I think that would... no. No. Let's go with more yellowish, but no. Let's go with more of a dark turquoise background. Nope. It doesn't work. Well, crap. Well, poop. That contrasts too much. You can always spend a lot of time choosing the color of the background you want. You can always play around with it until you are completely satisfied with it. I'm not gonna use too much time on this. It takes me a long while until I'm actually pretty satisfied with the background color. Actually gonna go with a dark background for this. But yeah, if you want, you can always go in with a little shading. What I usually like to do is, of course, take the base color and make a layer above the color and under the line art. And basically, as you can see, it makes it look shaded. This is basically a really basic shading. Like, usually I don't go with this basic shading. Usually, doing my art pieces, I like to go really detailed, unless it's something small and really not as... or if I want to go with not too simple, but not too detailed either. But you can always choose the color. Oops, that went a little too far. But I would say this would be a too dark shading color. But if you want, you can always do some basic shading for your art piece. I think it actually makes it look good and a little bit more detailed, but not too detailed if you still want to go with that really simple looking style. Cartoons always do this because it's easier to animate. Not something too special, but not too plain. But yeah, if you want to do some shading, you can play around with it. I don't really want to go into that in this small little tutorial, but yeah, that's how I usually do my shading. This is basically a really simple artwork. I'm not gonna make it anything too special after this. I just gonna make this. Today is 11th of 8th, so it's 2018. Yeah, but that's basically it for this. I'm just gonna put my other username initials there. Actually, I'm gonna take that and cut it and paste it and make it a little lighter, and yeah, that's how you shade. Or not shade, color. That's how I usually do my coloring, or my base layer coloring, or coloring in general. But yeah, I hope this was helpful, And I'm sorry if there's not gonna be videos for maybe a week or two. I'm sorry I didn't make a video last weekend. I've been really busy. School just started and I have a lot of stuff to do. I have competitions, golf competitions, everything, and I apologize in advance for it. I will try to make something simple, maybe some kind of sketch speed paint, so you can see a little bit how I do usually my sketching. To be honest, it's not really clean. It usually takes about 2 to 3 layers because I want to make my sketches usually as detailed as possible. It's a little obsession of mine. That's why usually making a full-on art piece takes longer than some artists may take. But anyway, that's it for this time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!